Okay, let's talk about file actions. Now, file actions are a very cool feature that we have in Minion Backup, and what it allows you to do is copy or move files to any location or to as many locations as you like after the backup. This is a very rich feature with a lot of really cool little nuances. But it's really easy to set up, and none of these nuances take any separate jobs. You can do the entire thing from right in the product. You don't have to create 40 different jobs to get your files copied to different locations. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we set that up and how it works. This is going to be an end-to-end video, so it's going to be a little bit longer, but it's going to be worth it. Okay, so let's look at backup settings. Now, the first thing you have to do is you have to come in here to File Action. You have to set an action. So do I want to copy? Do I want to move? Or do I want to copy move? And that would just be copy move, like that. Now, officially, the way the routine works, if it's not copy or move, it's automatically going to try to it's automatically going to copy and move if you have the paths there. So copy move like this is really more for your benefit than it is for the routine. So the way it works is if it's copy, then it takes all of the paths that have copy or move and it removes the move, right? If it's move, then it removes the copy. But if it's copy, move, or anything else, or I'll say if it's not copy or move, then it doesn't remove anything. So you will get a copy and then a move. So this is really just for your benefit. But right now we're going to copy. And when do you want to copy? See, the file action time. I want to copy after the backup. Well, your other option is after batch. And the reason we did this was because let's say that you have 30 databases, or maybe 3 dozen databases, or maybe 6 dozen databases that you're trying to back up and you're trying to copy. It may be really important that you get through all of the database backups and then start copying them all. Or you may want to copy each one of them right after the backup kicks off, or right after the backup finishes. But more than likely, you're going to want to back all of the databases up first. Most of the time, this will probably be set to after batch. So again, the difference is if you've got it set to after batch, all of the databases will be backed up and then all of the copy actions will take place. As opposed to after backup, which means as soon as each individual database is backed up, then all of its copy actions will take place. And you can see how if you've got 6 dozen databases or even 20 databases, if they're large enough, and you're copying to enough locations, that all of those copies can take a long time. So ordinarily where you would be backing up databases for, say, an hour, maybe 2 hours, with all of the copies, you could be stretching that out to 4 or 6 hours. You just don't know, right? Especially if you're going over a slow link. So just beware that if you've got that set to after backup, databases that ordinarily back up at 3 a.m. could not back up until, say, 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 7 a.m., right? Because of all of the copies that are going on. So just be aware of that. But we give you that option to be able to do it anytime you want. So let's talk about a specialized situation where you want all of the backups to be done after batch, except for one that's really important that you get it copied right away. So you could create an override row in here for that database, and that one database you could have set to after backup. So all of the databases are going to wait until they're finished except this one database, and it's going to go right after it backs up. So you see that there's a lot of rich option in here, so I can pick and choose. I want this database and this database to be copied right away via these override rows that you would put in here. And here, I'll show you what that would look like just real quick. So it would look like this. I'll copy that, I'll paste that, and I'll say database 1, for example, right? Let's get that tick mark out of there. And so all of these other guys would be done after batch, except for this one, which would be done after backup. And so you see, ordinarily, that would be 2 separate jobs, at least. And now we've got it down to 1 job. So as soon as this guy backs up, as soon as this guy is done backing up, he's going to he's going to process his file actions. He's going to copy his files to wherever you told him, and everybody else is going to wait until they're all backed up. So that's a really good way to do that. Let's go ahead and kill that. Yep. Okay, good. Now let's look at the path table, because this is where the other magic happens. So in here, all you need is a backup type of copy or move. And that's really all you need. Now, you notice how I have in here for Minion default, I've got 2 of these, and then I've got 1 for move. Now, I'm not going to explain the entire path table to you and the nuances that go into it, because I've already got a video or 2 on that. So go look at the path videos to understand all of the nuance inside of this table. But I will say that you can have different file actions, and this is where you define your file actions. This is another really cool thing that we've done here, is we allow you to have different file actions for different drives. So let's say, for example, that I want this guy right here to be copied to Sean Backup's Sean copy, or SQL Backup Sean copy, right? And I want to use RoboCopy for this one. But on this other one right here, I want it to be copied to SQL Backup Sean copy 2, and I want it to use a normal copy. So you can copy to multiple locations using different methods. So that's another really cool thing that we give you, is we give you the ability to, per drive, you can use a different operation. You can use a different utility if you want to. So let's say that you have a slow WAN link somewhere and it has frequent failures, right? Well, maybe you'd want to use RoboCopy or ESEUtil because they've got faster copy mechanisms, or maybe you'd want to use Xcopy, something like that, right? But maybe if you want to copy it over to your dev box, maybe it's just as easy for you to use something else. So, or maybe you need special flags set for certain locations. So one location you need to copy over the security of the file as well, and another one you want to copy over the attributes and stuff like that. So you've got a lot of options with being able to specify the file action method and the flags. So if there are any specialized flags that you need to add to the utility, then you can just add them right here. So it would be like, you know, whack J, whack NP, stuff like that, right? So you can just add those flags in there as you need to. And here, let me go ahead and make that null again. And you can add those flags on a per drive basis. So you can see there's a lot of really cool functionality in here. And again, I can back up and copy and move to as many locations as I need to. This one has 2 copy and 1 move location. So that means that it's going to copy to both of these locations, and then it's going to move to those locations. As long as they're all active, and they are, because you can see all 3 of these are set to true, then it's going to do that for each database name and backup type. So here I've got the bit database. Oh, sorry, that's an Azure location. So I've got all of the databases here being copied to both of these because it's Minion default and copy. Now, the one caveat here is that they all have to go to the same location. So what I really can't do is I can't back up, I can't copy a full backup to one location and then copy a log backup to another location. They pretty much have to be copied to the same location. Now, you can do that. That's an advanced config that if you need help with something like that, let me know and we can work something out. But that would be a specialized configuration. But right now, we'll just leave it at that. That if you have a specialized backup type, but for right now, we'll just leave it at that. That the backup types like full, diff, log are all going to go to the same locations. Now, there's one other thing. If you stripe a backup to say 5 different drives, the copy is going to put all of those into the same folder. So you can't really stripe a backup and then stripe a copy as well. So if you back up to, say, 5 different drives here, you're striping to 5 different drives, and you have one file in each drive, then when you copy, they're all going to be copied to this exact location. Now, at the same time, you also can't copy to an Azure location, to an Azure blob. So we have this set up as a backup, but if you had this set to copy, then it wouldn't be able to do that. We're looking at something like that for version 2. We'll see how it works out. Now, there's something else really cool in here. We've got these two lines here that are copy. You notice how one of them has a path order of 10 and the other one has a path order of 0. So you can even control the order in which they get copied to different drives. So if you need to copy it to a DR site first and then you want to copy it to the dev box, then you can definitely make sure that the DR site goes first, because like everything else in Minion, this is a weighted system. So the higher number will go first. So this one is heavier than the other one, so it is going to get more attention. So the order here is always the higher is first. So in this instance, when we run the backup, all of the databases are going to get copied to location number 2, then they're going to get copied to location number 1, then they're going to be moved to this location, to this move location. And of course the move always happens last, right? Because if you move it, then you can't copy it because it doesn't exist in the location anymore, right? So the move has to happen last. Now there is another caveat here where you can get yourself into some fun, right? Let's say that you want to verify your backups, or you want to do a file list only on your backups, something like that, right? Well, not a file list only, sorry. But let's say that you want to verify your backups. Let's stick with that. We've considered in Minion Backup that the file actions are more important than the verify actions. So, because verify can take a while as well. So when we process these, the file actions are processed before the verify actions. So what that means is, if you have a move and a verify, that your verify is going to fail because the file isn't there anymore. There's nothing for it to there's nothing for it to verify because you've moved the file, right? So just know that it's a byproduct of the settings that you've set. We've had discussions internally as to whether or not that's a bug. I don't know. It's a feature, right? It's a byproduct of the settings that you've set. You've said that you want to verify this file, but you've also said that you want to move the file. So anyway, just be aware that that's how it works. If you move it, then you can't verify it because it doesn't exist in that original location anymore. Now, just like everything else, it'll also try to create these drives. I don't know if I've already said that, but if these drives don't exist, then it will try to create them. If it can't create them, then it'll shoot up a warning and the rest of your file actions will fail. But if it can, then it'll create the drives and it'll create the path locations, and then it'll perform all of your backup, all of your file actions. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happens afterwards. Let's take a look at some of these files here. So I'm going to look at backup details first. There we go. And you see here, I've got this one right here that says complete with warnings. I've got a couple of these. And if I come all the way to the end to warnings, you can see this right here. Right? This one was trying to copy to the Azure location. And this one right here, you'll see, I'm going to pull this one out for you to actually see it, that it can't find the file specified. That's because we have it set to move and we've got it set to verify, and it's trying to move from that location. So let me get rid of this. Now let's go ahead and run one of these just to see what it's going to look like. I think I can do that from up here. There we go. So I'm going to back up all of these guys, and what it's going to do is it's going to back them up, then copy them, then move them. Let's go ahead and I'm going to show you right here. This is the server that we're running it on, and you can see that none of those drives exist. Let's go back and look at the drives. Oops. Let's go back and look at the drives just to prove it. So we're backing up to SQL backups Sean Star, right? Okay, so let's come here. Let me get that back. Let me get this guy back. There we go. So there are no SQL backups Sean Star anywhere, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and run this backup. Get back over here. And let's see what happens. And I'm going to run it against all the user databases. I'm going to run a full backup against all the user databases. And go. Okay, that's going to take a couple minutes. And you can see here that I've already created the first folder. And there go the copy and move folders. So you can see it's creating these folders right as we watch. And it's not done yet, but we'll wait for it. Let's go back here. Actually, I'm going to pause and I'll come back when it's done. Okay, that's done. And now let's go take a look at the log details. And you notice here we have bit and we have bit install. And these are part of this last round. We have no warnings because we have set this to copy instead of copy move, right? So we have this set right here. Where is it? For Minion default. We have all of the databases set to copy after batch. So let's go ahead and take a look and see if we got our copies. So you can see here that we've got all of our copies here. And there you go, it copied just fine. There we go. So I've got my copies. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like in the backup files table. So you can see here that I've got these rows here. The operation was move, and I've got the operation for backup right here and right here, right? So I've got the operation for move, and I've got one for copy, and I've got one for copy, and I've got one for move, and I've got one for copy, and I've got one for copy, right? So I've got several of these guys in here. Now, there is a glaring problem here that I'll point out to you if you haven't picked it up yet, right after I get finished discussing the columns in this table. So let's move on here to the copy or the move. It doesn't really matter. It has here the device or the backup drive and the backup path. Now this backup path is where it ended up, right? It was its final resting place. So you can see here it went to Sean move. This one went to Sean copy. This one went to Sean copy 2. This one went to move. So you can see that for any given backup scenario, and these guys right here are all, there we go. These guys right here are all of the operations, and I'm ordering these descending, okay? So you can see here that first the 2 backups happened, then 2 copies, then a move, then 2 copies, then a move. So I'm doing these in reverse order just because it's easier for me to find it. But if I were to come here and just do it like that, then I can go all the way down to the bottom of the table, and you would see it in the proper order now. Well, actually, I'd have to order by ID ascending. There we go. So let's do that instead. There we go. So this last round of 053, there we go. You can see the 2 backups, copy, copy, move, copy, copy, move, which is exactly what I said was going to happen, right? Let's go back to doing that descending because that's easier for me. There we go. So the operation was a move operation. It was complete. This was the database. This was the server. This is the backup drive. This is the backup path. This is where it ended up, right? So the backups themselves went to this location, the copies went to these locations, and the move went to that location. And then we just break down the path for you in various ways. But you notice too that they have retention hours. They can each have their own retention hours. I'll show you that in a second. This is the date that they're going to be deleted on. And when they do get deleted, this one stores the date and time that they actually were deleted. And this is whether or not they are deleted. And this is the size of all of the files combined. This is not just a single file, but this is the size for the entire backup. So a lot of information here that you're going to get, but I wanted you to see that this backup path is the final resting place of the file itself. Now, the glaring problem that we have here is the fact that in settings, you'll notice that I have it set to file action of copy, right? But in here, we got copy and move operations. So why is that? Well, this is just one of the little quirks of a system, is that the issue is that, remember I said, let me go back to settings, that it either has to be copy or move, or you're going to get a copy and a move if you have both of those locations set. And even though we have copy here, the system that I'm on right now is a case-sensitive system. And so I've got this in all caps, and I should have it as copy instead of all caps. So in a case-sensitive system, you can run into some issues if you don't have the proper case set up. So now that I've got that, let me go in here and run this again, and let's see if we get nothing but copy actions this time. And this time I am going to pause it until it's done. Okay, now the backup's done. That only took a couple minutes. Now let's go ahead and look in backup files and see what we get this time. Now you notice for this last run, which is the 580 run, because you see it ends in 580, now I've got backup, backup, copy, 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 and no moves. I can also very easily come in here and turn off one of these copy paths. So let's say I just temporarily don't want to copy to this path or something, then I can just set is active equal to 0, and then it'll only copy to that one path. Or I could have kept it the way it was before, and I could have just turned off the move path like that, and that would have been another way to solve it. So if you remember from the other videos on the path table, that this is a really good way to control your DR site. Say I need to copy to one location at one site and another location at another site. Well, you can use this comment column and a pre-task to figure out, or even a separate job, right? To figure out which server you're on, and to turn and to flip this is active bit to on or off depending on which server it's on, which DR site it's in. So if one DR site has completely different server names, but you still need to be able to copy these over here, well then you can do that, right? You can just have another job or a pre-step in this job to read which server it's on, and if it's on this server, then flip these bits off and flip those bits on, and you can very easily control your DR scenarios that way. Or if it's on a Monday, you can have it flip certain bits, and you know, or you can have it do certain things only on the weekends. So there's a lot of power when you combine these fields with the pre and post tasks, or the pre and post code that we let you run. So we give you a lot of configuration here, and absolutely nothing here requires a second job. You may have to put in a pre-task, or you may have to, or you might be able to even get away with doing it in pre and post code, just running an SP. But you can see it's all perfectly configurable here without any extra jobs. And these guys right here with the file action method, being able to have a separate method and separate flags even for every single drive, is a lot of power. So you've got a lot of really good stuff in here. And again, it will try to create all of these paths as well. And you could do this to a UNC path. It's really easy. You just would enter in something like this, something like that, and then the share name, right? And then always make sure it ends in a backslash, and then give the folder structure that you want under here. And you can even have separate server labels. Now go look at the server label video if you want a full discussion on the server labels. But that's pretty much the file actions in a nutshell. There's a lot of power there, there's a lot of flexibility, and you can do almost anything you want without any extra jobs. You just configure it in here and let it go. So there you go.